Okay, if we can go live a couple minutes early again, that would be lovely. Gwe Agpijlazi, hello and welcome to beautiful Susan McEachern Ball Field in Sydney, Nova Scotia. We begin by acknowledging that the field, Sydney, and all of Cape Breton Regional Municipality lie within the unceded ancestral territory of Mi'kma'ki. My name is Michael Petter. This is Petter Sports and Streaming Services on AOTV. And this morning we have for you day number 3 of the 2022 Men's Baseball Canada National Championships. This game featuring the Windsor Stars and the Elmwood Giants, the representatives of Ontario and Manitoba respectively, as that ball falls in for a base hit out into right field. So 2 singles to start off the game for Windsor. Noah Renault singled on the first pitch of the game. Jake Lumley, the DH, follows that up with a single of his own. So runners on first and second, nobody out. Bringing up the third hitter, the shortstop, Andrew Wasiluk. Again, the Windsor Stars are the visiting team in this game. We are in the top of the first inning, just underway here from Sydney. We'll run you through the rest of the Windsor batting order here. It's going to be Colin Robinson batting cleanup. He's the first baseman. In the 5 spot, playing third base, is Mitch Hudwagner. And there's a double steal and a throwing error that's going to lead to 2 runs coming in to score. There was actually 2 errors on that play. The throwing error as the ball was sailed into left field, and then a playing error in left that allowed the second run to come all the way home. So just like that, the Windsor Stars are already up ahead 2-0, just minutes into the start of this ball game. Again, as we were running through the batting order, Matt Deneau, the catcher, will bat 6th for Windsor. Stephen Adam will bat 7th and play left field. Anthony Dufour, the second baseman, is in the 8th spot. Grounder down to third. Across the diamond in time for the first out of the inning. And the 9th batter is going to be Jeremy Orton. Starting pitcher for Windsor is number 23, Travis Keys. And we'll set up the defense for the Elmwood Giants here momentarily as well. There's a line shot out into center. Third hit of the morning already for the Windsor Stars. And hitting into the defense that includes out in left field Steve Pritchard, center field Chris Moffat, and right fielder Chris Norkey. In the infield, third base is covered by Dan Carter, while Garrett Palplestone will play short. Colton Boudreau and Brett Boudreau are second and first base, respectively. The brothers patrolling the right side of the infield. In behind the plate catching is Nathan Chrischuk, and the pitcher, Anthony Friesen, making at least his second appearance out on the mound, as he did pitch a couple of innings in the opener on Thursday. That one's going to get all the way to the fence for a double. Colin Robinson pulls into third, So not the kind of start Friesen was looking for, obviously, as he's given up 4 hits. And that'll bring up Matt Deno. So Deno coming up here, the catcher for the Windsor Stars. Windsor coming into this game with a 2-0 record. We'll get into more details about that. Elmwood with a record of 1-1. And this one of 2 games in progress at the moment over at the Jerry Marsh Field in New Waterford, just about 10-15 minutes down the road. The Dartmouth Mooseheads and the Edmonton Cubs are also playing, and we'll keep you up to date on that game, as both of these games with big playoff implications for all 4 of these teams. All 4 teams still very much in contention. Windsor in the driver's seat, as they're the only team right now that has a 2-0 record in this pool. Dartmouth, the only team that has a record of 0-2, so they are playing for their lives. They need a win, and they need a little bit of help. And for both Elmwood and Edmonton, they both come into this game with records of 1-1. So could still finish first in the pool, could still finish out. As there's another single, that's going to drive in 2 runs, as the throw home was cut off by Friesen, played across to first, but staying in, holding in there is Deno. So a 2 RBI single for Stephen Adam. For Matt Deno, that brings up Stephen Adam. As the score now is 4-0. Bunt laid down, but it ends up being pushed foul by the left fielder for the Windsor Stars. And from a Stars perspective, you couldn't ask for a much better start. 5 of the first 6 batters able to reach base. As they have found a key to Friesen early. There's a ball bobbled, but recovering to get the out at first is Brett Boudreau. The ball had him handcuffed for a second, but he is able to make the putout at first base, and that has Matt Deno heading to second. But now there are 2 away, bringing up Anthony Dufour, the second baseman. The 8th batter of the inning for the Stars. And he launches that one out to left field. And that is going to clear the fence for a 2-run home run for Anthony Dufour. And it is now 6-0. And that will bring up Jeremy Orton, the center fielder. As you can see, the Windsor bench, the Windsor dugout, pumped up right now, and why not? It may be 9:30 in the morning, but they are firing on all cylinders right now. 6 runs here in the top of the first inning. Curveball misses outside. 1-1 now the count on the center fielder to the Stars, or for the Stars, Fouled off the fists and up out of play. And that will bring the count to 1-2. And a soft liner to shortstop. Catch made by Garrett Popplestone for the 3rd out of the inning. But 6 runs on 6 hits. There were 2 errors. However, all 6 runs are earned. No runners left on base. We've played half an inning. And it is the Windsor Stars 6 and the Elmwood Giants coming to bat for the first time. Taking a look at the Elmwood batting order. It's going to be the catcher Nathan Christchuk leading off. Batting second is the shortstop Garrett Popplestone. In the 3-hole, it's the third baseman Dan Carter. Chris Norkey, the right fielder, in the cleanup spot. Kyle Armstrong, the DH, bats fifth, while Steve Pritchard, the left fielder, is in the sixth spot. And then 7, 8, 9 is Brett Boudreau, the first baseman, Chris Moffat, the center fielder, and Colton Boudreau, the second baseman, along with, of course, Anthony Friesen, the Elmwood starting pitcher, who got rocked for those 6 runs on 6 hits. And I see the Giants have already got someone warming up in the bullpen after that rocky start for Friesen, so we'll see how long he stays in. Taking a look at the Windsor defense, out in the outfield, it's going to be Stephen Adam, Jeremy Orton, and Noah Renault. Around the infield, left side, third baseman Mitch Hoodwagner and shortstop Andrew Wasiluk. On the right side of the infield, second baseman Anthony Dufour and Colin Robinson covering first. The catcher, Matt Deneau, and on the mound, the left-hander, Travis Keys, finishing his warm-up tosses as we get ready for the bottom of the first inning. As we mentioned, Windsor coming in with a record of 2-0 after victories over the Edmonton Cubs 7-3 on Thursday night, and then over the Dartmouth Mooseheads by a score of 5-3 yesterday afternoon. So if they can win this game, they will finish with a record of 3-0 and secure first place in the pool, which is important because that means they don't have to play a quarterfinal later today. They get to go right into tomorrow's semifinals. Elmwood, with the record of 1-1, they beat Dartmouth 1-0 on Thursday afternoon in the opening game of the tournament here at Susan McEachern Field, and then dropped a decision to the Edmonton Cubs 5-1 in yesterday's game. First pitch to Nathan Christchuk is a called first strike as the bottom of the first now underway on a cloudy, gray day here in Sydney. Thunderstorms in the forecast, or possible thunderstorms in the forecast for around noontime, maybe into the mid to late afternoon. So we will try to keep you updated on Twitter and on Facebook as to any potential changes to the schedule. Of course, you can go to Baseball Canada's site as well to get all that information. But we'll talk more about our Twitter feed and our Facebook page a little later, where in the event that there are any delays or any stoppages because of the weather, we'll do our best to keep you up to date on any tentative restart times and whatnot. In the meanwhile, we are in the bottom of the first inning here, and Christchuk with a looping liner to Colin Robinson, and Robinson able to make his way over to the bag and make the catch on that liner for the first out of the bottom of the first. That'll bring up Garrett Popplestone, the shortstop. In the game that Elmwood played here at this field on Thursday, swing and a miss there, Popplestone went 0 for 2. It was the one thing that Elmwood has not done incredibly well so far this weekend is score runs. They may have a 1-1 record, but they only scored 1 run in each of those games. As I mentioned, Dartmouth, the victory over Dartmouth was 1-0, a solo home run in the bottom of the 7th inning by Chris Norkey, the only run of that game, as there's a fly ball out to deep left field, gathered in by Stephen Adam for the second out of the inning. And then that 5-1 loss yesterday. The good news for Elmwood, if we do get into some tiebreaker situations, they've only given up 5 runs, or they had only given up 5 runs coming into today, but this 6 spot that they put up, that Windsor put up in the first inning, obviously has the potential to hurt them if we do get into tiebreakers with defensive run ratio being a tiebreaker. And we'll talk about how all the tiebreakers work as we get later on into the game. And we'll do that in conjunction with keeping you up to date on the other score as well, because both of these games that are in progress right now in pool, I believe this is pool B. Don't quote me on that part, because I haven't seen anything indicated anywhere yet as to officially which pool is A and which pool is B. That one way up high into the air, but fouled back and out of play beyond our broadcast position here, directly behind home plate. They're in the bottom of the first over in New Waterford as well, still looking for the first run of that game. Again, that's Dartmouth and the Edmonton Cubs. Cubs with a record of 1-1, Dartmouth with a record of 0-2. Another one fouled off, and it remains an 0-2 count. Or excuse me, 1-2 count. The 1-2 delivery from the lefty just misses outside, and the count 2-2. Dan Carter in that game on Thursday went 0 for 3. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the stats from the other field. I can see the scores and whatnot, but I don't have individual player stats, so I'm only able to go give you stats from games that I've been able to call. And another foul tip as Carter now about to see his 9th pitch of this at-bat. And I've talked about that a few times through this tournament. You know, at this level, there's not a lot of advanced scouting. You can't see a lot of tendencies and whatnot. So it's a quick learning curve for these players. The only exception, probably Dartmouth and Sydney, if they do run into each other somewhere in the playoffs, if they do both make the playoffs, because they've played against each other all season. Another foul off from Carter there. Now we're going into the 10th pitch of this at-bat. And this one up high into the air. Looks like it's in foul territory. Getting over and making the catch is Robinson for the third out. So no runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on. We've played one complete inning. And right now, it is still early, but right now the Windsor Stars very much in control with the 6-0 lead on the Elmwood Giants. Due up for Windsor, they're back to the top of the order for the top of the second. It's Noah Renaud, Jake Lumley, and Andrew Wasiluk. As mentioned, we are at the Susan McEachern Memorial Ballpark, and we want to take a moment to honor Susan McEachern, for whom this park is named. She was the wife of Jim Rico McEachern, who is the manager and head coach of the Sydney Sooners team, who of course are the host team for this tournament. And Susan unfortunately passed away as a result of cancer, and that's why you see the logo there in the box at the bottom of your screen. That is the logo that is painted into the artificial turf right behind second base. And you also see the daffodils on the scoreboard. The daffodil is the official flower of the Canadian Cancer Society. So we want to take a moment to honor Susan and recognize her, and as well to honor this ballpark. It's an absolutely beautiful facility, a real labor of love for Jim McEachern, and he's done a great job. Top of the second is now underway. There's a curveball that misses. Renaud singled and came around to score, is part of that six-run first inning. I know for those of you watching at home in Manitoba, it's still not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet. on a Saturday. For those of you watching in Ontario, it's still not quite 9 o'clock, but here it's almost 10, so I should be awake by now, but still got a little bit of the early morning flub-ups when it comes to speaking. We'll do what we can, try and get the mouth in working order. There's a line shot, and it just stays off the ground enough for Colton Boudreau to gather it in and not have to make the play over to first. That'll bring up Jake Lumley. Lumley singled and scored in the first inning as well. He is the DH today. Lumley, a former draft pick of the Oakland A's back in 2017, taken in the 33rd round. Made it all the way up to A-ball. Skies that one out to right field. Not enough on it to get it out over the fence. And Chris Norkey was well positioned there to get back underneath the ball for the second out. So it looks like Friesen seems to have things back under control here. The left-hander getting a quick 2 up, 2 down. That brings up Andrew Wasiluk. He grounded out to Dan Carter his first time up. Carter playing third base. This time going the opposite way with it, and that is going to fall in for a base hit just inside the right field line. So Wasiluk now 1 for 2. That'll bring up Colin Robinson. He singled and scored his first time up. One of the 6 hits in that opening inning. So Friesen once again having to deal with a runner on base, but this time it doesn't start until 2 outs. Looping curveball misses inside, excuse me. That one high in the air, curving foul, and it will get out of play. And nice catch made on the rebound by Steve Pritchard, but the ball did bounce off of the roof of a porta potty out of play before the catch was made, so it doesn't count. Hopefully nobody was in that porta potty when it happened, because I can imagine that'd be kind of a little bit unnerving to all of a sudden hear a big thud of a baseball landing while you're in there. And there's a called strike, and the count now 1-2. Friesen gets himself set and delivers the 1-2 pitch. Pulled foul, and right at our third base camera operator there. Karen doing a good job to get out of the way. Got to send a big shout out to my wife Karen, who agreed to come and work the camera for us this week. Swing and a miss there, and that's strike 3. First strikeout of the afternoon or of the morning for Friesen. So there was one hit, but it was sandwiched around a line out, a fly out, and a strikeout. Or sandwiched between all of those, rather. So no runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 runner left on base. We've played 1.5, and the Windsor Stars lead the Elmwood Giants 1-0, or 6-0, excuse me. And the bottom of the second inning, it'll be Chris Norkey, Kyle Armstrong, and Steve Pritchard due up for the Giants. So as we mentioned, this pool right now, Dartmouth is playing for their lives as they are 0-2. Elmwood and Edmonton both 1-1. Windsor comes in with a 2-0 record. Later today, scheduled for 12:30, fingers crossed we'll be able to stay on schedule. We've got the St. John's Capitals taking on the Charlottetown Islanders. That game will be at Jerry Marsh Field over in New Waterford, while we will have the Kamloops Sun Devils taking on the Sydney Sooners. Sydney with a record of 0-2. Kamloops and St. John's both with records of 1-1. while Charlottetown has a record of 2-0. So it's the same situation there. One of the 2-0 teams playing one of the 1-1, or the 2-0 team playing one of the 1-1 teams, while the other 1-1 team is taking on a team that's 0-2. And the way it works, if there's a two-way tie for a position, then it's the head-to-head record. If there's a three-way tie and all teams will have finished 1-1 against each other within that three-team group, then the next tiebreaker is defensive runs given up divided by defensive innings played. And we'll talk about how those play out as we get closer to the end of the game, if they become important, depending on the outcome of both of these games this morning. That one misses low, 1-1. Chris Norkey was the hero of the game on Thursday. He hit a solo home run to right field in the bottom of the 7th inning. This time he grounds the ball over to short, gathered in by Wasiluk, throw across just in time to get him for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Kyle Armstrong, the DH. Armstrong on Thursday was also DHing. He ended up going 0 for 3. Popped out to the pitcher and flew out to right field and center field in his 3 plate appearances. Elmwood was held to just 2 hits in that game that they played here at this diamond. But one of those hits, as mentioned, the home run by Norkey, and if I'm mispronouncing his name, I do apologize. Comebacker right back to the mound, and Armstrong will reach base. We'll wait to see on the official scoring. I believe that's going to be a single because of the way the pitcher had to reach back behind himself there. Brings up Steve Pritchard, the left fielder, as we just wait to see what the official scorer says. And he does credit Armstrong with a hit there. He and I have been on the same page pretty much all weekend when it comes to what we're calling hits and what we're calling errors. That one is going to hook foul, or slice, because it's a right-handed hitter, out into right field. Slice foul. Here comes the 0-2 pitch now. That one misses down and outside, and it's 1-2. Saw some tweets and whatnot from Canadian Amateur Baseball Central, as well as the Baseball Canada Nationals Twitter, so thanks for giving us a mention in your tweets, Canadian Amateur Baseball Central. Here comes the 1-2, and that's pulled out to left field just over the head of Adam. Armstrong had to hold up to wait to see if that ball would get caught or not, so he's only able to advance to second base, and it's a long, loud single. That'll bring up Brett Boudreau. Great effort there in left field by Adam, but the ball just gets over his head, and so that puts runners at first and second with one away for Brett Boudreau. Meanwhile, they're in the bottom of the second over in New Waterford. Edmonton and Dartmouth still looking for the first run of the game. There's a called strike to Boudreau to kick things off here. 0-1 is the count. Boudreau, the first baseman, went 0 for 1 on Thursday with a walk. Reaches out, has that go off the end of the bat to first baseman Robinson. He gets the throw over to Popplestone at the bag for the fielder's choice. They're not able to turn 2, however. So count it 3-6 on the putout. That allows Armstrong to get to third. So it's runners on the corners for Chris Moffat, the center fielder. Moffat went 0 for 2 on Thursday. As I mentioned, not a lot of big offensive numbers for this Elmwood team so far. Just 2 runs scored in the 2 games. Nice block there in the dirt by Matt Deneau to keep that ball in front of him. Moffat ahead in the count now, 1-0. Runners at the corners again, 2 out. Bottom of the second inning. Elmwood trailing by 6 after a big top of the first. Swing through there, and the count goes to 1-1. Another one fouled off, and it's now 1-2. One ball, 2 strikes to the Elmwood Giants center fielder. Giants out of Manitoba taking on the Windsor Stars out of Ontario. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and that will do it for the bottom of the second inning. No runs on 2 hits, no errors, and 2 runners left on base. We've played 2 complete, and the Windsor Stars continue to lead the Elmwood Giants by a score of 6-0. We do like to try and be interactive with our broadcasts here on Petter Sports and Streaming Services, so send us a message. You can tweet to us at Petter, P-E-T-T-E-R, as in my last name, PC_sports. That's Petter, PC_sports. Right there on your screen, you can see the Twitter handle. You can also reach us through Facebook, facebook.com/PetterSports. And just send me a message. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're having some breakfast, what are you having for breakfast? And are you willing to share? I know it might be hard to get it all the way here to Sydney, but hey, if you can find a way, I'll eat it, I'm sure. And if you got a particular player you want to send a shout out to, you might not hear it over the air, but the rest of the fans will. And again, just let us know. If I'm getting something wrong, please send me a correction, because the only way I can correct a mistake is if you tell me about it, if I'm mispronouncing a player's name or anything along those lines, like I say. So again, that's at PetterPC_sports for the Twitter handle, Facebook.com/PetterSports, and make this an interactive broadcast here through AOTV. Due up in the top of the third, it's Mitch Hudvanger, Matt Deneau, and Stephen Adam for the Windsor Royals. And again, no score between Dartmouth and Edmonton. And there is a new pitcher out on the mound for Elmwood, and that is Scott Harris. So Anthony Friesen settled things down after a rough first inning. So Scott Harris takes over on the mound as Mitch Hudvanger steps in. He doubled and came around to score in the first inning. One of the 6 hits in that inning. 6 hits and 6 runs. As Harris, his first batter that he's facing, and he's behind in the count 2-0. Now 3-0. And obviously, this was not in the plan book for the Giants to have to go to their bullpen this quickly. The 3-0 pitch right down Main Street, taken for a strike, and the count goes to 3-1. Grounder to second, gathered in by Boudreau. over to first in time as Boudreau feeds Boudreau, and one away. Colton with the throw over to Brett. Not sure which one's the older brother, or are they twins? But I do know the Boudreaux are brothers. I was given that much information. Here comes Matt Deneau. He's had the big 2-run home run. Or sorry, no, he had a 2 RBI single. This time he skies it up into the air, and it ends up coming down just a little bit behind our broadcast position here. 0-1 the count on Deneau. Again, 2-run single. And then he came around to score on Anthony Dufour's 2-run home run later in that first inning. Takes a pitch on the outside corner, and it's now 0-2. Again, we do have thunderstorms potentially in the forecast for this afternoon. So there's a swing and a miss. The ball does go into the dirt, so having to pop up out of his crouch and throw the ball down to first was Christiuk, and he's able to do so for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Steven Adam. He grounded out in the first. An unassisted ground out to the first baseman, Brett Boudreau. And fouls that one off, out of play, off to the right side. And this one sent out to center field. It looks like it's going to fall in left center, just in front of Steve Pritchard, who was hustling to try and get there, but a little bit of a bloop. That'll bring up Anthony Dufour, and he had the 2-run blast in the first inning. That wrapped up the scoring of the 6 runs. That hit by Adam, the 8th hit of the day for the Windsor Stars, and it's 8 different players who have those 8 hits so far. Dufour shows bunt and then pulls the bat back. Ball 1 was the call on that, so 1-0 the count. Grounder to short, knocked down by the shortstop, but not well enough that he could make a play with it. Popplestone was able to knock the ball down, but not able to get the flip over to second. We'll wait for the official scorer to post that one up. Jeremy Orton up now. He looped a liner to Popplestone in the first, and Dufour does get credited with an infield single there. And we got a balk called, so that's going to move the runners from first to second and third. Pitch misses just a little bit outside, and the count now 1-0. Steven Adam at third, Anthony Dufour at second, and now a 2-0 count. 2-1 count. That one misses low. Now it's 2-1. So one of those first pitches was a strike. That one will miss inside. It's now 3-1. As the center fielder, Orton, stands in here in the top of the third. And that's ball 4. That will load up the bases and flip the order over. Brings up Noah Renaud. Singled and scored in the first, lined out in the second. So he's 1 for 2 on the day. Takes the first pitch strike, and the count 0-1. Renaud's single in the top of the first on the first pitch of the game. Was able to put it through the left side of the infield. That one misses low, 1-1 the count. Chance to take this relatively comfortable lead of 6 runs and break it wide open. There's a strike and the count 1-2. And as we mentioned, there's a looper out to left, but able to get himself positioned perfectly for it, Steve Pritchard, for the third out of the inning. So a couple of hits and a walk load the bases with 2 out, but Harris able to get out of the jam. No runs on 2 hits, no errors, and the bases left loaded. We've played 2.5, and the score remains 6-0 for the Windsor Stars. Due up for Elmwood. It's 9-1-2. Colton Boudreau, Nathan Christiuk, and Garrett Popplestone. Just a quick note on the dimensions of this field. I was given this question yesterday, and I appreciate it, and so I'm going to run through it again. Down each of the foul lines, it is 325 feet to the right and left foot foul poles, or right and left field foul poles, 340 in each of the alleys, and straightaway center field 355 feet here at Susan McEachern Memorial Ballpark. Quick look at the other game. They're into the top of the third there, and still looking for the first run of that ball game. And again, if Windsor does hold on to win this one, thank you very much, Ray Zimmerman, for the kind words. Says watching from Windsor, and I see the donuts there. I'd, if you could send one down, that would be nice. A little bit jealous there that you got the Tim Hortons donuts going there, Ray. And the first pitch to Colton Boudreau is a called strike. That one fouled back into the backstop here, so the count goes to 1-1. Or 0-2, excuse me. Grounder to second. Picked up by Dufour. Over to Robinson in time for the first out of the inning. Brings us around to the top of the order, Nathan Christiuk, who led things off. Christiuk lined out to the first baseman Robinson his first time up. So 0 for 1 on the day to this point. As we play here in the bottom of inning number 3. Chopped foul near side. And 0-1 is the count. Keys gets himself set and delivers. That one misses high, 1-1. Oh, help if I mark things in the right spot. There we go. Help also if I kept the scoreboard on the screen accurate. Which leads me to once again give the disclaimer. Whoa! Knocked down there by Hudwagner. Is he going to get the ball over in time? Yes, he does. Nearly a great catch on a line drive. Hudwagner able to knock the puck. You can tell I usually call more hockey than baseball. Knock the ball down. And recovered in time to get up and make a strong throw across the diamond to Robinson for the second out. Great play there by Hudwagner. That brings up Garrett Popplestone. He flew out to left his first time up. Popplestone swings through the opening pitch of this at-bat, and he goes down in the count 0-1. Yeah, I do call probably close to 100 to 150 hockey games every winter, and get to call maybe on average 15 to 30 baseball games a summer. Love calling ball as much as I love calling hockey. Not as many diamonds around here have the internet capabilities to be able to call a lot of games. Hopefully we're going to work on that on some of the diamonds right around my home in Pictou County. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And a swing and a miss, strike 3. Second strikeout for Keys on the afternoon. And a quick 1-2-3 inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. We'll go to the 4th. And the score remains Windsor 6 and Elmwood 0. So we'll go to the top of 4. And it's going to be the DH, Jake Lumley, the the shortstop, Andrew Wasiluk, and first baseman Colin Robinson due up to face Scott Harris out for his second inning of work. The final line on Anthony Friesen was 6 runs on 7 hits, no walks, and 1 strikeout. All 6 runs were earned. And obviously not the kind of outing that Friesen was hoping for here this morning. But, you know, everybody's going to have one of those games from time to time. As we get ready for the start of the 3rd here, Jake Lumley, 1 for 2 on the day. We mentioned that Lumley was drafted by the Oakland A's in 2017. Ended up playing A-ball with the Beloit Snappers in the Oakland organization in 2018, which is about 1,000 levels higher than I would have ever dreamed of playing. Swing and a miss there from Lumley. I mean, you think about the amount of ball players in the world and the amount of them who can say, I was drafted into the Major League Baseball organization. That one fouled back, and the count goes 0-2. They're into the top of the 4th inning over at the Jerry Marsh field as well. Still no score there between Dartmouth and Edmonton. And that seems to be a recurring theme in Dartmouth games. No scoring a ways in, and then the game they had against Elmwood, the only run came in the 7th inning. They lost that one 1-0. And then in the game against Windsor, I believe I'll have to double check, but I think it was scoreless into the 4th. Grounder down to Brett Boudreau. He's able to gather it in and get over and take first base himself. Actually, Windsor did get a 1 run in the 2nd, 1 run in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, and 1 in the 6th for their 5 runs. So it wasn't 0-0 for that long in Dartmouth's second game. But this is the second game that Dartmouth has gone with goose eggs all the way across the scoreboard a ways in. That one shot over the head of Boudreau into right field for a single. That's Wasiluk's second hit of the day. That'll bring up Colin Robinson. He's 1 for 2 with a single and a run scored. Tenth hit of the day for the Windsor Stars here in the 4th inning. On a gray, muggy day here in Sydney. That one fouled off. Hopefully the rains hold off for us and we're able to stay on schedule. Again, check out the Twitter feed and the Facebook page for schedule information if changes need to arise. We posted all of today's schedule as it currently stands, as it's quote-unquote supposed to be, to the Facebook page and the Twitter. But if any changes do arise, we'll post them there as well. Runner going, pitch misses inside, throw down to second, not in time. As Wasiluk in with the stolen base, the count goes to 1-2. So the right-hander Harris now has a runner in scoring position behind him that he's got to worry about. Harris delivers, and that one rides in onto Robinson and catches him in the arm. So that'll put runners at first and second with one away for Mitch Hudvanger. He's 1 for 2 with a double and a run scored. That misses inside, ball 1. Harris gets himself set. And that one chopped foul, 1-1. So again, Windsor with the 2-0 record. Elmwood with the record of 1-1. If Elmwood were to come back and win this game, and Dartmouth beats Edmonton, then there'd be 2 teams tied at 1-2, 2 teams tied at 2-1. Elmwood would win the pool over Windsor by virtue of the head-to-head, and Dartmouth would get third place over Edmonton by virtue of the head-to-head. That one sent out to left field. It will hang up for Steve Pritchard. Pritchard makes the catch. Runners not able to advance on the fly ball to left field. That'll bring up Matt Deneau. He is 1 for 2 with a 2 RBI single and a strikeout. If Windsor maintains this lead and wins, they'll finish the group 2-0 or 3-0 and will automatically get first place and move into the semifinal. Elmwood would have a record of 1-2. And then, depending on the outcome of Dartmouth and Edmonton, would either be in a 3-way tie for second, third, and fourth if Dartmouth wins, or would be alone in third if Edmonton wins. So, still an awful lot left to be decided, and a lot riding on the outcome of both games. High in the air to right or shallow right field, coming in and making the catch is Norkey for the third out of the inning. So a 1-out single and a hit batsman ends up putting 2 runners on for Windsor in the top of the fourth, but they are not able to capitalize and extend their lead. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 2 runners left on base. We've played 3.5. And all of the scoring still coming back in just 1/2 inning. It is the Windsor Stars 6 and the Elmwood Giants 0. In the bottom of the 4th inning for Elmwood, it'll be Dan Carter, Chris Norkey, and Kyle Armstrong due up for the Manitoba champions. Sarah Wasiluk says, "Let's go Windsor Stars." Shout out to Uncle Dub number 4, Andrew Wasiluk, and a beautiful picture of a very young fan. Thank you very much for that. Rachel Marie says, "Good morning, watching from northern Manitoba. Great broadcast." Thank you very much, Rachel. Very much appreciate the kind words. And it is my pleasure to be here calling this game. I've done a few Baseball Canada national events at different age group levels, but this is my first time covering the senior men's national championships, and I have to say it's been an honor and a thrill to be here. We've had fantastic baseball all weekend here at the Susan McEachern Memorial Ball Field. The 4 games that we did over the first 2 days, it was a 1-0 game, a 4-3 game, a 5-3 game, and a 1-0 game. It's been like fantastic ball. Not a lot of offense on this field. There's been quite a bit of offense over at the other field, including one of the games last night, or the night game last night, where Kamloops defeated the St. John's Capitals 16-14. Yes, that is correct, 16-14, and 30 runs total on 30 hits over the course of that game. It didn't end until far after our game ended last night, and being back in the hotel room, it was I was grateful that our game had ended so much quicker, able to get to bed a little bit earlier last night. First pitch to Dan Carter, misses outside, 1-0. Carter 0 for 1 with a pop out to first, his first time up. This time he grounds it down to short, gathered in by Wasiluk. And Uncle Dub with the throw across in time. That'll bring up Chris. I've been calling him Chris Norkey. If it's Norquay, I do apologize. If anybody can give me, is it key as in like a key into a door, or quay as in quay? Strike 1 to Norkey. I've always thought that Quay, like a key, like the nautical term. But if anybody can and wants to correct me, please do. Grounder to third, gathered in by Hudvanger. Across, one hop, and recovery made to get the out. Nice play by Robinson to pick that ball up out of the dirt. That brings up Kyle Armstrong. As, there we go, we're in the bottom of the 4th. The disclaimer, in the event that there is a discrepancy between what everybody knows to be true and what is on the scoreboard, take what you know to be true as correct, and I'm just a little bit behind on getting buttons pressed. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Here comes the pitch at the bottom of the zone for a strike, and the count now 1-1. To the DH. He singled his first time up. Fouls that one off, and it's 1-2. Or correction, 0-2, excuse me. It was 0-2, and then he fouled that pitch off to stay alive at 0-2. And here comes the 0-2 pitch. That one misses down in the dirt, and it's now 1-2. It was my psychic abilities. I knew the count was going to get to 1-2 at some point. Why not? As the lefty Keys gets ready for the 1-2 delivery, here it comes. And shot foul, first base side, remains 1-2. So Kyle Armstrong able to stay alive here with 2 away in the bottom of the 4th inning. Windsor up by 6. And a swing and a miss. 3rd strikeout of the morning for Travis Keys. And that will do it for the bottom of the fourth. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base. And we'll go to inning number 5. It remains Windsor 6, Elmwood 0. Due up in the top of the 5th inning, it is Stephen Adam, Anthony Dufour, and Jeremy Orton. There we go, top of the 5th. Quick look at the game over at Jerry Marsh Field. Still looking for the first run of that game as Dartmouth and Edmonton tied with Goose Eggs. They're playing the bottom of the 4th inning there. And again, depending on the outcome of both games, we'll know what it ends up meaning for quarterfinals and semifinals. Laura Renaud Popplestone says, cheering on Garrett Popplestone while having morning coffee. Coffee, caffeine, must have. Actually, I have to give a big shout out to Cat's Cozy Corner, or Cat's Cozy Cafe. Wherever it was, it was Cat's Cozy something. Okay, all right. So, yeah, I want to give credit to the right name of the place. Kay's Cozy Corner, that's what it was. I had breakfast there this morning, a wonderful breakfast at that restaurant here in Sydney. And this is an unpaid, unsolicited endorsement. Great breakfast there this morning. And I'm sure that everybody over at AOTV is going to be yelling at me now, giving away free airtime to businesses, but the food and the coffee was so good, it's worth it. Stephen Adam up to the plate, leading off here in the top of the 5th inning. And that is ball 4. Leadoff walk. Just the second walk delivered. Whoops, wrong button. There's the right button. There we go. Just the second walk by Elmwood pitching today. Anthony Dufour, who's 2 for 2 with a 2-run home run and a single. Every Windsor Star has reached base at least once. 8 of the 9 have hits out of the 10 hits that the Stars have. 6-10-0 for Windsor, 0-2-2 for Elmwood. Both errors coming on the same play back in the top of the 1st. Runner going, hit and run was on, and the Dufour fouls that one back. The count goes to 1-1. The runs, though, ended up being earned runs anyway, as the 2 errors did result in runs being scored, but those runs would have ended up eventually coming around regardless based on what else happened in that inning. That one out into right field, softly hit there. That's a 3-hit day now for Dufour. 2 singles and a home run. That brings up Jeremy Orton. And I'm not trying to pick on him here, but Orton is the only player without a hit for Windsor so far this morning, as the team now has 11 hits. Orton did reach base his last time up, though, as he walked in the top of the 3rd. 0 for 1 with that walk. And this chopper down to third base, charging in, and then airmailing it was Dan Carter over the head of the first baseman, Boudreau. And that will allow everybody to get an extra 90 feet, including Adam coming all the way in to score. So it puts runners at second and third and makes the score now 7-0. So Dufour gets all the way around to third base on the throwing error. Orton reaches on the E5 and gets second on the overthrow. And we're back around to the top of the order for Noah Renaud. He singled and scored in the first, lined out in the second, flew out in the third, so 1 for 3 on the day. Still nobody out here in the top of 5. That pitch catches the outside corner, 0-1 the count. They're in the top of the 5th over in New Waterford, still no score there as well. One hopper right to the shortstop, throw home, and everybody's going to end up being safe as it was not a force play coming home, so making his way back to the bag was Dufour. So Renaud reaches on the fielder's choice, but no outs as a result of the play. No error either, just everybody ends up being safe. But my understanding on how that would be scored is it would not be a hit, it would be a fielder's choice. I'll double check and wait to make sure from our official scorer on that. That brings up Jake Lumley. He's 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored, and the bases are now loaded. And yes, it stays 11 hits, so yeah, reached on a fielder's choice and no outs on the play. Yeah, but not an error. Grounder to first, charging in and getting the force out at home plate. Off the throw from Brett Boudreau into the catcher Nathan Krischuk. So Anthony Dufour is forced out at home. Lumley reaches on the fielder's choice, 3-2 on the putout. That brings up Andrew Wasiluk. He's 2 for 3. Bases remain loaded, but there's now 1 out. And I think you see the infield for Elmwood. The corners are in to try and get it at the plate, but a tailor-made double plate ball, 4-6-3 in time. And the Elmwood Giants are able to get out of danger, only giving up the 1 run. The 4-6-3 double play, Boudreau to Popplestone to Boudreau. That's Colton to Garrett to Brett. Gets the Elmwood Giants out of any more danger. 1 run on 1 hit, 1 error, and the bases left, or 2 runners left on base because the double play negated one of those runners. We've played 4.5, and it is now the Windsor Stars 7 and the Elmwood Giants 0. Due up in the bottom of the 5th, it's Steve Pritchard, Brett Boudreau, and Chris Moffat, the left fielder, first baseman, and center fielder, respectively, as they'll come out to face left-hander Travis Keys for his 5th inning of work. Keys so far having a very solid afternoon or morning on the mound. It is morning still for a little while longer. Actually, for a fair while longer for those of you watching in Manitoba and Ontario. And I really do appreciate you being along for the game today. I know it's sometimes a little challenging getting up so early on a Saturday morning. And your attendance is much appreciated. Here comes Steve Pritchard. He singled his first time up, one of the 2 hits that the Elmwood Giants have been able to muster so far here this morning. And the first pitch of the bottom of the 5th misses low, ball 1. Still scoreless over in New Waterford between Dartmouth and Edmonton. That one will get up through the middle for a single. So Pritchard goes to 2 for 2 on the day. That'll bring up Brett Boudreau. He reached on a fielder's choice his first time up, so 0 for 1. Boudreau standing in with a 7-run ball game. You may not see a hit and run or anything like that put on because you don't want to take any undue risks. You got to just get as many base runners as you can if you're the Elmwood Giants. They've only had 2 players reach base, or 3 players reach base so far today. Pritchard twice and Armstrong, and then Boudreau, of course, reached on the fielder's choice, but that put a player out, so they've only had 3 runners on at any given time. 2 in the second and this one here in the 5th. Runner was going the wrong way. They had Pritchard fooled, but then the throw ends up getting away from Robinson, and Pritchard's going to take advantage of that and get all the way around to third. And I believe they're going to score that in E1. I believe it's going to be a throwing error on Keys, as the ball was just a bit out of reach of Robinson. So a 2-base error there allows Pritchard to get all the way from first to third. And now the Giants in a little bit better position. Still trailing by 7, though. They need a lot of base runners to get themselves into position. 3-0 count here on Boudreau. And a 4-pitch walk puts runners at the corners with nobody out. That brings up Chris Moffett. He's 0 for 1. He struck out his first time up to end the second inning. And you may see with it being runners on the corners, you may see Boudreau go, but instead it's a ball into left center that will fall in for a single. Boudreau had to wait to make sure the ball was going to fall, so he only gets to second. Moffett with the RBI single. And that allows Pritchard to come in to score. Colton Boudreau now coming up. He's 0 for 1, grounded out to second. His first time up. As Travis Keys trying to calm things down a little bit here. First inning, he's really run into a fair bit of trouble. And we'll see if he can work his way out of it. Breaking ball in for a strike, 0-1. And that one catches the outside corner, and it's 0-2. So it looks like Keys has gotten things settled back down now. Right back into the zone. That one up in the air into right field, but it slices foul. And it'll remain 0-2. Beautiful facility here at Susan McEachern Memorial Ball Field. Got to give a huge shout out as well to the whole organizing committee. They have been absolutely fantastic to us here, bringing in Petter Sports and Streaming Services, taking really good care of us. And of course, Petter Sports and Streaming Services working with AOTV. Liner just over the head of Andrew Wasiluk. And so that will head out into left field for a single. But again, Boudreau had to hold up and wait to see if the ball was going to get caught. So just 90 feet at a time. And that brings us also back around to the top of the order. Nathan Christiuk batting. And now we can confirm that the run scored by Pritchard, even though he advanced 2 bases on an error, that run is going to still be earned, as with the results of all the other plays so far this inning, he would have come around to score regardless. Quick meeting at the mound here just to talk things over, get Keys settled down a bit. None of the hits that he's given up this inning have really been incredibly hard hit balls, just well placed. And so he's not getting blasted, but the Elmwood Giants batters seem to have figured out his location. Nathan Kristyuk up to the plate now. He's 0 for 2, a ground out and a line out. And the first pitch to Kristyuk misses outside, ball 1. Bases loaded, nobody out here, top of the 5th inning. And that one misses, and the count goes to 2-0. Keys slowing down the pace a little bit now, a little bit more deliberate. There's a strike, and it's 2-1 on the catcher for the Elmwood Giants. Giants franchise has been in existence since 1905. They won the 2021 season in the Winnipeg Senior Baseball League. A lot of these players have participated in nationals at the U22 and senior levels. Two and two to count to Kristyuk. Here comes that 2-2 pitch. Fouled off, and it'll remain 2-2. Garrett Popplestone waiting on deck. Oh. Help if I had the number of outs correct. There we go, got that fixed now. Swing and a miss, strike 3 for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Garrett Popplestone, who's 0 for 2. And that a big 4th strikeout of the game for Travis Keys, as none of the runners get to go anywhere. Still, bases are still loaded, but now a double play will end the inning. So Keys looking for a ground ball at somebody so that they can turn 2, or perhaps another strikeout would help them as well. As that one in for a called first strike. Keys gets set and gets Popplestone to swing over the top of that breaking ball, and the count now 0-2. Three singles and a walk. Got the bases loaded and 1 run in. Then a strikeout. And now a 1-2 count on Popplestone. Windsor with 6 runs in the first, 1 run in the 4th. Elmwood with 1 run so far here in the 5th, but back-to-back strikeouts delivered by Travis Keys means Dan Carter is coming up here with the bases loaded and now 2 out, and has to now work to keep this rally going. Carter 0 for 2, popped out and grounded out. And swings over the top of the first one, and the count 0-1. Give Keys credit. Back-to-back Ks. That's huge for him in this inning. in this game, as Windsor does have action in their bullpen. Looping curveball, catches the outside corner, and the count 0-2. The bullpen for Windsor a little bit too far away. I can't see the number of the player who's warming up. But I can tell you there is action in the Windsor bullpen. That one over the head of second baseman Anthony Dufour. That will score one, but not hard enough. A little too hard hit for the ball to be slow enough that runners can advance more than one base, and not hit hard enough that it was able to get past anybody else. But it is a second run in, so an RBI single for Dan Carter keeps the bases loaded as well and brings up Chris Norkey. Norkey 0 for 2 with a pair of ground outs, both times grounded out to Andrew Wasiluk. Swings and misses at the first pitch he sees, in the count 0-1. Cues that one off the end of the bat right at Robinson. Robinson will get over to make the unassisted putout at first himself. So 4 hits in the inning leads to 2 runs for the Elmwood Giants. There were no errors. There was 1 error, and the bases left loaded. So for Elmwood, a couple of runs scored, making it 7-2 going into the top of 6. But could have been even more for the Giants, if not for the great pitching of Travis Keys to work his way out of that jam. One run was already in, and the bases were loaded with nobody out, and Elmwood only able to add 1 more run to that in the bottom of the 5th. So we go to top of 6, 7-2. Due up for Windsor in the top of the 6th inning. It'll be Colin Robinson, the first baseman, Mitch Hudvanger, the third baseman, and Matt Deneau, the catcher. As we're back down to a 5-run game. And looking at the other field, they're over in New Waterford. Again, it's about 15 minutes outside of Sydney. Still part of the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. It's kind of one big municipal unit, the urban area extending between communities. At Jerry Marsh Field, they're in the top of the 6th. Still no runs scored for either the Dartmouth Mooseheads or the Edmonton Cubs. Noah Renault into bat. He's 1 for 4, excuse me. His 4th plate appearance of the game. No, I'm looking at the wrong person. Colin Robinson with the grounder back. He was 1 for 2 with a single, a strikeout, and reached on a hit by a pitch. Now he's 1 for 3 with that ground out. That brings up Mitch Hudvanger, who is 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored. Part of that 6-run first inning. Chopper to first. Does not stay in fair territory, so Hudvanger will get another chance. Boudreau was there to make the play, but the ball just leaving fair territory. That one misses outside, and it's now 1-1. 7 runs on 11 hits for the Windsor Stars. They've committed 1 error. 2 runs on 6 hits for the Elmwood Giants. they've had their issues with defense. They've committed 3 errors so far here this afternoon. Count goes to 2-1 on a pitch that misses inside. Here comes the 2-1 delivery from Harris. Grounder to second, gathered up by Boudreau. Boudreau to Boudreau as the brothers work together on another play for the second out. Colton getting the ball over to Brett. That brings up Matt Deneau. He had a 2 RBI single in the first. He ended up coming around to score himself as well. Struck out in the third, flew out to right in the fourth, so he's 1 for 3. Again, every member of the Windsor Stars has reached safely at least once. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Jeremy Orton, the only one still without a hit, as he got on base by way of a walk. Harris gets himself ready, and here comes the 0-1. That pitch misses, and it's 1-1. Harris with a chance to send the Stars down in order for the first time this game. There's a strike, and it's now 1-2. Windsor has been able to get at least 1 hit in every inning so far in this game. And first with Friesen and now with Harris, they've had to do the extra work. Strikeout, and then the throw down just in time, and just getting his foot back on the bag was Boudreau, as the throw from Krischuk was a little high. So it is a 1-2-3 inning for the first time this game for the Windsor Stars. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. And that was the second strikeout for Harris, and the third strikeout overall for Elmwood pitching here this afternoon, or this morning. It's still morning. It really is. Due up in the bottom of the 6th inning for the Giants, it'll be Kyle Armstrong, the DH, left fielder Steve Pritchard, and first baseman Brett Boudreau. And should mention this one of 4 national championship events being played this weekend at Baseball Canada. As you see one of the Sydney Sooners youth in the crowd watching the game, or a couple of them there. A couple members of the Sydney, I'm guessing that's the U11 team. Just guessing based on age. What was I saying before that? I have completely lost my train. Oh, right. I was talking about the other Baseball Canada national events going on. Just over in Summerside, PEI, which is not too far from where I live. I live just on the Nova Scotia side of the PEI Nova Scotia ferry, which brings you across to Charlottetown, and then it's just an hour down the road to Summerside. They are hosting the 16U Girls Invitational Tournament. In Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, it's the 13U national event. And in Windsor, those of you in Windsor have a chance to go check out some good ball right there in your own backyard. It's the Ray Carter Cup, the U15 National Championship event. Or sorry, other way around. The 13U is in Windsor. The 16U is in Saskatoon. So some youth baseball, the 13Us playing in Windsor, Ontario. If you have a chance to get down to the ballpark for some of that action. And I'm sure a few of the people who are watching who've been sending me notifications on Twitter from the Windsor area I'm sure you guys are probably well aware of that tournament going on. There's a swing and a miss by Armstrong. Armstrong 1 for 2 so far on the day. 2-1 is the count on Kyle Armstrong. Singled in the second, struck out in the fourth. Fouls that one off, and the count goes 2-2. One of 5 strikeout victims of Keys so far here this morning. Two and two the count. A reminder, scheduled for 12:30 is the Sydney Sooners taking on the Kamloops Sun Devils. Breaking pitch misses outside, and the count runs full on Armstrong. And then, depending on the outcomes of all of those pool games, we'll know the matchups for the quarterfinals, scheduled for 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock this evening. Again, all these times are Atlantic time. So subtract 2 hours if you're watching from Manitoba, subtract 1 hour if you're watching from the Eastern time zone in Ontario. Here comes the payoff pitch, and over the head of Wasiluk. Wasiluk thought about taking a leap at it, but then realized he'd need to be about 14 feet tall and have the go-go gadget legs to try and get that one. That'll bring up Steve Pritchard. He singled in the second, singled in the fifth, and came around to score that time. So Pritchard 2 for 2 on the day. And again, this is the schedule as it currently stands. A game at 12:30 and then the quarterfinals at 5 and 8. Obviously, the big caveat to all of that is weather permitting. Pritchard takes a strike, 0-1. If the weather cooperates and we're able to stay on time, then great. If not, make sure you check out the Twitter feed and my Facebook page for updates on the schedule as changes arise. That one skied into the air, but only as far as the shortstop. And Wasiluk was able to camp underneath that one and make the catch for the first out. Infield fly rule was in effect, so Armstrong stays at first. And that'll bring up Brett Boudreau. Boudreau reached on a fielder's choice in the second, walked and came around to score in the fifth. So 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored. And Boudreau takes the first pitch ball. And again, if Brett or Colton, which one is the older brother, by all means. I did get confirmation from the Giants prior to the game on Thursday. I asked, so the Boudreaux, any relation? And he goes, yep, they're brothers. But I didn't ask the follow-up question of which one was older. The 1-0 chopped, and it does not stay fair, so that'll bring it to 1-1. Or sorry, the 2-0 makes it 2-1. It's still early on a Saturday morning. Here comes the 2-1 pitch with Armstrong with the lead at first. That one catches the bottom of the zone. It's now 2-2. I don't expect Armstrong to be running here, trailing by 5. Yes, you're in the 6th inning and you need runs, but the run that would make you down by 4, not the key run of the game. Boudreau caught looking there, and that'll be strikeout number 6 for Travis Keys. Brings up Chris Moffat. He was one of those strikeout victims, but he also has an RBI single. So 1 for 2 with the RBI. They appeal down to first base. Umpire says no. Moffitt did not swing at that first pitch, so the count 1-0, with now 2 away here in the bottom of the 6th. Moffitt gets a piece of that one and fouls it off, so it's 1-1. Here comes the 1-1 from Keys. Misses outside, 2-1. They're into the top of the 7th between Dartmouth and Edmonton, still looking for the first run of that game. So the Mooseheads in a very similar situation to what they were in their game against Elmwood. Tied at 0 going into inning number 7. In that one, Dartmouth didn't score in the top of the 7th, and then in the bottom of the 7th, with 2 away, Chris Norkey with the solo home run that walked the game off. If the same thing happens to Dartmouth again in this game, their tournament will be over. They'll finish 0-3. That one pulled down the left field side. It falls in front of Stephen Adam. And so that will put runners at first and second with 2 away. And bring up Colton Boudreau. He grounded out in the 3rd and singled in the 5th, so he's 1 for 2. Has one of the 8 hits now for the Elmwood Giants. All 8 of those hits coming from the 5 through 9 spots in the batting order. 7 of the 8 hits coming from 5 through 9 in the batting order. Dan Carter, the only player in the top 4 spots with a hit. He had an RBI single back in the 5th. Boudreau takes a strike there, 0-1. So if Elmwood does not come back in this game, you'll have to look at the lack of offense from the top of the order as the key to the game for them in the losing effort. Like I said, the bottom of the order, Steve Pritchard with 2 hits, Brett Boudreau with a hit, Chris Moffitt with 2 hits, Colton Boudreau with a hit. And Kyle Armstrong with 2 hits as well out of the 5 spot. The ball gets away from Deneau, but not far enough. Runners can't advance. They had appealed down to first base to see if Boudreau had swung. He did not, so the count goes to 1-2. Armstrong at second, Moffitt at first. 2 away here, bottom of the 6th inning. Giants trail by 5 and only have 4 outs left to work with. Another one fouled back, and Boudreau stays alive, 1-2. Still scoreless. 1 away, top of the 7th, over in New Waterford. And here comes the 1-2. That one will fall in just in front of Anthony Dufour, but he was able to make the play for the 3rd out of the inning. So no runs on 2 hits, no errors, and 2 runners left on base. We'll go to the 7th with Windsor leading by 5. The score is 7-2, and they'll look to tack on some extra insurance here in the top of the 7th inning. And it'll be the 7, 8, 9 hitters, Stephen Adam, Anthony Dufour, and Jeremy Orton, who will be looking to do that for Windsor. as we do a quick check of the Facebook page and the Twitter handle, seeing if there's any more notifications there. And again, we're keeping a close eye on that other game. If Windsor holds on, again, they'll be 3-0. They will have the bye into the semifinal. So they'd be playing at either 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. tomorrow. And again, I haven't seen anywhere officially which is Pool A and which is Pool B. I believe this is Pool B, which would put them in the 1 o'clock game tomorrow. But do not quote me on that. Please wait until we get confirmation. There you see the Twitter handle and the Facebook page again, PetterPC_sports for Twitter, Facebook.com/PetterSports for the Facebook page. Check out those pages after all of the pool play is done. We will break down all of the playoff schedule there, so that is where you'll want to go to check all that out. At PetterPC_sports for Twitter or Facebook.com/PetterSports for the Facebook page. Top of the 7th is underway. Steven Adam is up to bat. He's 1 for 2 with a single, a walk, and a run scored. And he's currently ahead in the count, 3-0. Scott Harris out for his 5th inning of work after Anthony Friesen pitched the first 2. A 4-pitch walk to Adam. That's his 2nd walk of the morning. That'll bring up Anthony Dufour. He's 3 for 3 with a 2-run home run in the first and a pair of singles. So Dufour having a great game at the plate, as well as a pretty good game at second base. Runner going, swings through. The throw down a little bit too far to the third base side. And so Steven Adam gets the stolen base as the Stars look to add to their lead. Give themselves a little bit of extra insurance to work with here in the 7th. Grounder down to short. Popplestone gathers it in. Throw across is in time. Adam able to advance to third on the play. And that'll bring up Jeremy Orton. He's the only Star without a hit. There's a Junior B hockey team in this area, or there used to be a Junior B hockey team in this area called the Windsor Royals. So when I say Windsor, Royals just ends up naturally coming out of my mouth. So I mean no disrespect when I use the wrong name. It's just the brain ends up going where it goes. Chopper down to third, gathered up by Carter across the diamond in time for out number 2. And Adam has to hold at third. That'll bring up Noah Renaud. He's 1 for 4. Singled and scored in the first, then a line out, a pop out, and a ground into a fielder's choice. So Renaud getting his 5th at-bat of the game, his 3rd time facing Harris. And takes the first pitch for a ball. 1-0 the count. Harris delivers that one on the plate for a 1-1 count. Dartmouth has scored 2 runs in the top of the 7th to take a 2-0 lead on the Edmonton Cubs. And if both scores hold, then Dartmouth, Edmonton, and Elmwood would all be 1-2. And it would go to the ratio of defensive runs given up over defensive innings played. And I am not going to say anything officially as that one sent deep to center field. It gets over the head of Chris Moffat, and that'll be a two-base hit for Renault, an RBI as Adam comes around to score. And that makes it 8-2. That'll bring up Jake Lumley. Lumley 1 for 4. Singled and scored in the first, flew out in the second, grounded out in the fourth, grounded into a fielder's choice in the grounded into a fielder's choice in the fifth. No, that's not right. I wrote something down on my sheet wrong. Yes, no, he did reach on a fielder's choice. Yes, that's right. And then he was negated on the double play on the next batter, Andrew Wasiluk. That's why I'm confused. And a pinch runner has come in for Noah Renault. Jacob Persa will take over on second base. And I believe he'll stay in the game to play right field as well. We'll wait for confirmation of that when we get to the bottom of the seventh. All right. Let's get some paper going here. So Dartmouth, 1 run in 6 2/3 innings. Elmwood 0-7. And that one is going to get away from Chrischuk. Harris was able to find it as it bounced out down the first base line. Or no, that ball actually ended up going off of the foot of Lumley. So Persa will have to go back to second base. That brings up Andrew Wasiluk. He's 2 for 4, a pair of singles and a pair of groundouts. There's a called first strike to Wasiluk. Okay, so and a curveball just misses inside, 1-1 the count. So we're trying to do the math real quick here to see what things might mean. Grounder to short, over to second base, not in time, as everybody's safe. And we'll have to wait and see how that gets called. Did the throw pull him off the bag, or did he just beat it out, plain and simple? Colin Robinson now comes up with the bases loaded and 2 away. Robinson is 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored. He also reached on a hit by pitch. Okay. Dartmouth now has scored 5 runs in the top of the 7th. So they're up 5-0 on the Cubs. And all those runs are significant because coming into today's game, Dartmouth had given up 6 runs in 17 2/3 defensive innings. Elmwood had given up 5 runs in 13 innings. And Edmonton had given up 8 runs in 13 innings. So Elmwood coming into this game had the best defensive ratio, but now that they've given up 8 runs so far, That would put them at 13 runs in 21 innings. Dartmouth would be in second place, giving up just 6 runs. And there's a walk, and that's going to bring in a 9th run as Jacob Persa comes in to score. Lumley moves to second, Lumley moves to third, Wasiluk to second. Robinson takes first on the walk. He also gets an RBI. That brings up Mitch Hudvanger, who is 1 for 4 with a double and a run scored. So Elmwood now would be at 14 over 21. Grounder gathered up by the second baseman Boudreau, who flips it over to Boudreau for the third out. But 2 more big runs for Windsor. 2 runs on just on 2 hits, excuse me. No errors. And the bases left loaded. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. The Elmwood Giants need 7 to tie, 8 to win. And it'll be the top of the order leading things off. Christiuk, Popplestone, and Carter in the bottom of the 7th. So Elmwood finishes defensively with 14 runs given up on 21 innings. Dartmouth has been retired in the top of the 7th, so they've given up 5, or they've scored 5 runs. Then we go to the bottom of the 7th with Dartmouth leading Edmonton 5-0. Edmonton, therefore, has given up a total of 13 runs over the 21 innings as well. So Edmonton slightly ahead of Elmwood on the defensive run ratio, and Dartmouth, as of now, have given up 6 runs over 20 2/3. So if both of these scores hold, do not take this as official. These are based on unofficial calculations that I'm doing right now. But based on these unofficial calculations that I'm doing just with my pen here in my booth. This is not the word of Baseball Canada. You're gonna wait for official word on that. But based on my unofficial calculations, I'm hedging this as much as I can. If both of these scores hold as they are, Dartmouth would finish second, Edmonton would finish third, and Elmwood would finish out of the playoff contention by virtue of the 3-way tie at all 3 teams being 1 and 2, and Elmwood would have the highest ratio of defensive runs scored over defensive innings. But again, do not take this as an official statement from Baseball Canada. This is my unofficial calculation, as we've got a pinch hitter, Riley Traeger, coming in to bat for Nathan Christiuk. As Travis Keys is back out there to finish off the game. And quick confirmation that yes, Jacob Persa did take over in right field after pinch running for Noah Renault in the top of the 7th. Pitch to Traeger, misses. And the count is 2-0. So again, after the game, after both games, when we... Thank you, Sarah, for the unofficial calculations, or for saying that you're enjoying the unofficial calculations. I ran into some trouble at a hockey tournament that I was working last spring, or earlier this spring. And I said something in the broadcast about the playoff implications of a tiebreaker, and I miscounted the number of goals given up by one of the teams as the ground out to second base retires Traeger. So we're in the bottom of the seventh, and we've now got one out, and there's nobody on base. There we go, got that right finally. And some Hockey Nova Scotia officials, understandably, were a little annoyed with me that I said that I had the incorrect calculations, even though I said in the broadcast, these are unofficial, these are the calculations that I'm doing. But you would think I would have learned my lesson, but nope. Swing and a miss there as another pinch hitter. It's Garrett Graham coming in to get an at-bat. And he skies that one out to right field. It's going to be dangerous, and it's going to be in for a single. Great effort there by Persa, but he couldn't quite get his glove on it. And so a one-out single keeps things going for Elmwood, and we'll get another pinch hitter. This time it's going to be number 26, Justin Voth, coming in, as Elmwood emptying their bench here, giving everybody a chance to get into some games, or get into a game. The Cubs have scored one run so far in the bottom of the seventh, so it's not over yet. Again, this is all that pitch in for a strike. If Edmonton does come back to win, they'd have a 2-1 record, and they would finish second. Elmwood would finish third by having a 1-2 record, and Dartmouth would be eliminated at 0-3. So those of you watching in Elmwood, in and around the Elmwood, Manitoba area right now, you guys are some big Edmonton Cubs fans, as you're going to need help from them if my calculations are correct. This one's skied. Third base side of the infield, actually goes into foul territory, and the third baseman, Hoodvanger, does make the catch for the second out of the inning. And this has Elmwood down to their final at-bat. And that'll bring up Ian Bowie as another pinch hitter. The last chance for the Giants, and Bowie takes a first pitch strike. Swing and a miss, and it's strike two, and the Giants down to their final strike. Meanwhile, the Cubs are down to their final out over in New Waterford. That pitch misses low, ball 1-2. If this game finishes before the game in New Waterford does, we will stay with you for a few extra minutes to keep you updated all the way through to the final of that game. That pitch misses inside, 2-2 the count. Both games theoretically should finish within a minute or two of each other, unless Alberta is able to get a huge rally. They do have runners on first and second now with two out. And of course, with Elmwood's fate hanging in the balance, called third strike, that's ball game. So Windsor advances to the semifinals. 7 strikeouts for Harris to finish off the game. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 runner left on base in the 7th. And the final score for Windsor is 9-2. Actually, that was not a hit. It was charged as an error, apparently. So the final score again is Windsor 9, Elmwood 2. And as we get the handshakes, again, we'll tell you Windsor is 3-0. They are into the semifinals. I believe they are in the 1 o'clock semifinal tomorrow, but again, don't take my word for that. Wait until we get it posted after everything becomes official after the games later or early this afternoon. If my calculations are correct, Elmwood has given up a total of 15 runs, 14. And they had 20 defensive innings, so 14 over 20. Edmonton has given up 13 runs over 21 innings. Dartmouth at this point has given up 7 runs over what would end up being 20 2/3 innings. So Dartmouth would get second place, Edmonton third, and Elmwood would be eliminated. Again, these are unofficial results, and the game in New Waterford is now a final. So these are unofficial calculations, but it appears, if I'm doing the math correctly, this is unofficial. If I'm doing the math correctly, Dartmouth finishes second, Edmonton third. So Dartmouth and Edmonton will both be playing in quarterfinals later today. Elmwood has their tournament come to an end. If that is the case, I want to send a big thank you to all the fans watching from Manitoba. And just because your team may not be continuing, we hope you come back and join us for more games. And it's been my pleasure calling the games for Elmwood here at this ballpark. For Windsor, we'll see you guys tomorrow. For Elmwood, we'll wait for the official calculations to be sure. Perhaps we'll see you later tonight. Our next game coming up in about an hour is going to be Kamloops and Sydney. Until then, on behalf of Dixon Cho and Jeff Porter, who have been doing all the switching and all of the work on the back end of the program, thank you very much to you guys. To my wife Karen, working the camera down on the third base side. On behalf of all of them, this is Michael Petter saying, may your pitches hit the corners, and may your liners clear the fence. Final score once again, Windsor 9 and Elmwood 2. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with you in about an hour.